copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. At no point does the Horde condone bullying, harassing, or physical violence against the subjects discussed in this show. The Horde is protected under the Fair Use Act and free speech under the First Amendment. Welcome to the new age. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by Hey
everyone, welcome to the show. It's me and Bilal tonight, and yeah, we got some good topics coming up. Oh, it looks like say hello to the children, Bilal, while I fix this.
Hi guys, how you doing? So we'll be talking about Uvalde, basically more shocking news that came out of there. I mean, completely ridiculous stuff that's going on there. And also we'll be talking about possibly the Lehman Brothers of China, whereupon the entire Chinese economy is about to literally collapse upon itself, even worse than we had in 2008, and will affect the world economy. So very, very happy stream. Joy stream. This was the fun stream. No, that was a joke, by the way. Don't clip me. But we're going to talk first about we're going to show the meeting first, the parents, and then we're going to get into a couple of articles and all that stuff. So just go to the parents meeting, the Uvalde School Board blasted by parents meeting.
This is brought to you by NBC News, so please, credit goes to them. So go check it out. The school board blasted by the parents, and honestly, I don't blame them for being angry. The mourning will always be there. That's their children. They're always going to mourn their child. But I think the anger is setting in, and I think that's really important. Because there's a lot of fuck ups in this.
Hi, Grandma Sherry and
Hey, Grandma.
Frank and Fast. Yeah, I mean the thing is that they saw the video that just released. They're angry about that, and basically the board is dragging their feet on actually firing this guy. I think he stepped down from the council, but he still is the chief. He's still working for the police department as the chief. So that's not really progress that we're seeing. So we're going to play this video first, and then we're going to read some articles and talk about how basically 400 officers were standing around the school and did nothing.
Ridiculous. Yeah, we'll get to the article. That one's going to blow your mind. But we are at 00 and pressing play now.
I can't help but wonder if they just didn't find our children worthy of being saved.
At a school board meeting that ordinarily would have discussed textbooks and budgets,
You need to clean house.
instead
I'm as pissed off as everybody in this room.
came fury.
Y'all do not give a damn about our children or us.
The anger in Uvalde, Texas, boiling over for more than 3 hours after a blistering preliminary report found egregiously poor decision-making during the response to the massacre.
Y'all's condolences and apologies don't mean to us anymore.
Berlinda Ariola's granddaughter was killed.
The only reason why we feel like you're coming out now is because you saw the videos. It's out there, and now we all know the truth.
She's among those calling for the firing of School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo, heard pleading with the shooter.
Sir, let me know if there's any kids in there or anything. This could be peaceful.
The exchanges between parents
Don't have an answer?
and school board members growing more tense.
I am not a coward. I am a combat veteran of Vietnam.
But perhaps most poignant, the students themselves.
And I don't want to go to your guys' school if they don't have protected.
The school district says it's installing new fencing, cameras, and door locks, but incoming senior Jasmine Casares, whose sister Jackie was killed, says more needs to be done.
What are you going to do to make sure I don't have to wait 77 minutes bleeding out on my classroom floor just like my little sister did?
The school's police chief, Pete Arredondo, has said that he didn't think he was the incident commander, but according to this new report, he actually co-authored the district's active shooter response plan, calling for him to take the lead.
So he co-authored. That's great. The guy's completely a fucking moron. Sorry for the language. Hi, Sleuth.
Hey, Sleuth Mom. I can't believe he hasn't, the common sense in his head. Just retired. He's like, I'm done. I'm just gonna. I fucked up. I'm done.
Well, we're gonna get to that. But even if he gets fired for this, being the chief, he could still continue to work in the police force. You need 2 strikes, so this will only count as 1. So he can just go to another state or another area that needs a cop and just continue working. So even if he gets fired. And by the way, he's the highest paid person in that area in Uvalde. He gets paid $92,000. I think more than the sheriff. So basically, even if he does get fired, he still can work in law enforcement. If you can believe that.
It's fucking ridiculous. We saw the videos. Everybody, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people saw the full-length video of them just standing there. Something is wrong. It's wrong, And the only way to amend it is to get rid of the bad and to change the system a bit, because everybody
Yeah.
there was kind of like with their
So,
thumbs in their ass going, oh, we gotta wait for, supervisor, we gotta wait.
well,
No, kids are dying.
absolutely. So we'll go to the NPR article. You can go
Mhm.
there. So the NPR article says nearly 400 officers were in Uvalde before the gunman was killed. A new report finds. All right. So you have a photo of a guy stopping people that look like they could probably go into the room from actually entering, more officers entering. It says photo from surveillance video provided in Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District via the Austin American-Statesman. Authorities respond to the shooting robbed elementary school in Uvalde, Texas on May 24, 2022. So the article starts off with this. Uvalde, Texas, nearly 400 law enforcement officials rushed to mass shooting that left 21 people dead at the Uvalde elementary school. But quote, systematic failures created a chaotic scene that lasted more than an hour before the gunman was finally confronted and killed. According to the report from the investigators released Sunday, the nearly 80-page report obtained by multiple media outlets was the first criticized both state and federal law enforcement and not just local authorities in Texas town for the bewildering inaction by the heavily armed officers as gunmen fired inside the fourth grade classroom. The report, the most complete account yet of the hesitant and haphazard response to the May 24th massacre at Robb Elementary School, was written by an investigative committee from Texas House Representative and released to a family member's Sunday. According to Texas Tribune, which reviewed the report ahead of its scheduled release to the public later in the day, the overwhelming majority of the responders at the school were federal state law enforcement. That included nearly 150 U.S. Border Patrol agents and 91 state police officers, according to the Tribune. Quote, it's a joke. They're a joke. They've got no business wearing a badge. None of them do. End quote. Vincent Salazar, grandfather of an 11-year-old Layla Salazar, said Sunday. So we're just reading that part of the article. I mean,
Hey, Jenny.
what do you think of that so far?
I have nothing nice to say. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, no one wants to do their job. That's the grammar says no one wants to do their effing job, and I'm like, yeah. Basically, the whole situation is that they had more than enough people to invade a small town, but yet none of them got in because the major chief told them not to enter, basically. And he's on his phone. I actually saw a video of him literally looking through his phone, the chief. He didn't have a radio. They knew some people were shot in there and they didn't go in. As a matter of fact, we will show a small clip of one of the officers whose wife was shot and tried to enter, but they stopped him. So they knew people were injured in this classroom, and yet no one did bother to go in. But I'll continue reading the article. If you see any comments, Tony, stop me, and you can read them if you want.
If I can. I'm having issues seeing the YouTube one, so yet again, it fails. But I'm trying to fix it.
All right. I'll just continue. I'm reading the comments too, don't worry. So, the report followed weeks of closed-door interviews with more than 40 people, including witnesses and law enforcement, who were on the scene of the shooting. Flowers that had been piled high in the city's central square had been removed as of Sunday, leaving a few stuffed animal maps scattered around the fountains, alongside photos of some of the children who were killed. A nearly 80-minute hallway surveillance video published by Austin American-Statesman this week publicly showed for the first time a hesitant, haphazard tactical response, which the head of the Texas State Police has condemned as a failure, and some Uvalde residents have blasted as cowardly. Calls for the police accountability have grown in Uvalde since the shooting. So far, only one officer from the scene of the deadliest school shooting in Texas history is known to be on leave. 1 out of 400. That's amazing. That's an amazing level of corruption right there. That was me saying that's my statement, not the article. The report is the result of one of several investigations into the shooting, including another led by the Justice Department, a report earlier this month, by tactical experts at Texas State University alleged that a Uvalde police officer had a chance to stop the gunman before he went inside the school armed with an AR-15. So I wasn't sure about that part because it was very tough with that list. But now it's confirmed that there was an actual guy outside with an AR-15, and he could have shot him, and he just asked for permission from his supervisor to shoot him. That's great. That's great police work, guys. Let me continue. But in an example of conflicting statements and disputed accounts since the shooting, Uvalde Mayor Don Laughlin has said that never happened. That report had been done at the request of the Texas Department of Public Safety, which McLaughlin has increased criticized and accused of trying to minimize the role of its troopers during the massacre. So, pretty much, they sat there, did nothing. No one is being charged with any sort of crime for just basically allowing people to be killed in the classroom, even knowing that people were dying. A video, like for instance, let me just one moment. Here, we could just show you like the great, wonderful chief of Uvalde. Here, you can just let me just go to Tony and toss it to him, and show you like him on his phone, basically doing jack shit. And then we'll move on to the actual video of them. Here, Tony, here's the video. Uvalde ISD official recommend.
Okay, loading up right now.
Yeah. So you could probably jump to, let's just go
it's
to...
It's only a minute long.
Yeah, but you can just jump to 25 seconds, because I don't want to see this piece of shit just walk around. But anyway, just go to 25 seconds or something.
Okay.
When you're at it, tell me.
25 seconds. Robb Elementary School sign is up. And pressing play now.
Whether he should be removed from his role following that failed law enforcement response to the shooting. Authorities say officers arrived at the school within minutes but allowed the shooter to remain in the classrooms for 77 minutes until they finally entered and killed him. Officials have identified Arredondo as the on-scene commander, but a Texas House Investigative Committee's preliminary report found that he did not consider himself incident commander. Again, his fate now in the hands of the school board later this week.
Spoiler alert, guys. The school board postponed it, and they're just letting him continuously keep his job still. Pretty much. Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry about that. And then basically just read the chief literally... Yeah, the supermom says the chief literally disconnected and didn't care. Absolutely. Grandma shares, I'm sure the dispatch told the responding officers about the 911 call, and the guy on his phone was texting with his wife. Yeah, we're going to show you that one right now, actually. Where was that one? Just so we have it.
Is that the... Oh, cracker.
That's fine, man. That's fine. No problem.
Which one is it?
Yeah, you want to go to... KSAT, I'll open up. So we're going to show a minute video basically showing that they knew there were people there, and even there was an officer, the husband, attempted to go in there and they blocked him. So the teachers could have been alive and they let them die. Here's the video. I'll toss it to you.
Okay, there's the video. Okay. I got it confused.
No problem, no problem. So we'll start at the beginning. It's a 39-second video. It's short, so...
Okay. Pressing, mind you, this is body cam footage of what was happening. It's not graphic, but please, trigger warning to anybody. We are talking about children.
By the way, if you want to watch the whole body cam footage, Savage basically has it on her channel. I know everyone's familiar with Savage, so good channel.
They have the whole. Okay, because I would like to see that.
Savage has the whole thing. It's muted. Yeah, I think it's muted, but she has a lot of Uvalde stuff. She does a lot of missing persons. So yeah, definitely something people should check out because she does have the full body cam footage. And if you want to watch the whole thing, it's interesting to see. There's nothing graphic on it.
But you can't hear anything, right? Like you're not going to hear.
Yeah, you're not going to hear the sound of screaming children and bullets.
Okay.
Fortunately, they muted that. But anyway, let's continue. Let's play the thing in 39 seconds. So yeah, if you want to see the body cam footage, go to Slay's channel. Slay Savage. So.
Alright, pressing play now.
No,
Oh, Lord.
Ruben.
Look how adamant he is. They know.
Go. Hey, cross. Cross on this side.
So, they knew. They absolutely, see what I mean? Like, they absolutely knew. They absolutely knew there was someone shot there, and they did nothing. They basically, and they told their officer to go back. His wife is shot, and they did nothing. I don't know how this is not, none of these people are being held accountable for being fired. I don't know how it's taken forever for the chief to actually get fired. I don't know how he can continue being working in law enforcement. I don't understand any of this. This makes absolutely no goddamn sense to me. No sense to me at all. And they even knew. I mean, like, they can't sit there later on and say, we didn't know, like, when most, like, the people in the front did. And you get this kind of, like, covering their ass, and it's, like, unbelievable. It's just absolutely unbelievable to see. So, let's go to now the chief, the great Chief Arredondo. I've seen, like, 3 different people say his name differently.
We're just gonna call him Dickhead.
No, we'll just call him Pete Arredondo, but don't,
I'm just going to call him Pete.
Yeah. So, we'll go to the article that says Uvalde School Board delays meeting. Do you have that one up? I can put it up for you if you don't have it. Here's the meeting. Here's the article. That's it. So we're going to read it now. I'm going to read it to you. And pretty much now, just like I spoiled it, it's being delayed. So this guy continues to keep his job. They're not even going to fire him, so he has to look for another law enforcement job. And they're
tap out. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, tap the fuck out. Like,
absolutely.
You fucked up. Just be a man up.
Yeah,
and just go, this isn't for me. You can't do your job, then you shouldn't have it, period.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And then the Baskar said it's Texas. Texas is getting pretty pissed off. They're going through a lot of bullshit. Like, literally, like, Texas froze. All their electrical systems are not working. They're dealing with mass shooters with police officers not responding. They're going to get pissed, and they're going to vote out all these people. I guarantee you. So I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to vote out a lot of people. It's terrible what's happening in Texas. It really is. And this is part of the problem, why it's happening. Because you have people in positions of power that basically got their job. They're making almost $100,000, and they can't even do their goddamn job. What they're trained for. This guy literally wrote the book on, like, co-authored the book on what to do in the scenario that he was put in, and he just failed miserably. Imagine failing at something that you co-authored a book on. Like, how is that even fucking possible? But anywho, let's go with the article. But yeah, Uvalde School Board delays meeting on firing Police Chief Pete Arredondo, placed on unpaid leave. That's great. I mean, he gets to just have a vacation and still keep his job. Uvalde school leaders have canceled a Saturday meeting in which they were scheduled to consider firing District Police Chief Pete Arredondo for the role in the flawed response to the Robb Elementary School shooting, according to news released from the school district Friday. Quote, in conformity with due process requirements and at the request of his attorney, the meeting to consider the termination of Chief Arredondo will be held at a later date, which has yet to be determined, end quote, the release says. Yeah, it's good. He's good at waiting, so maybe making them wait more and more. I mean, he was good at waiting, letting people die, so he's good at waiting to keep his job. Let's say, Uvalde School Superintendent Hall Harrell had recommended Arredondo's termination for good cause, according to the original agenda. Officials also placed Arredondo on unpaid administrative leave until the board schedules another meeting to discuss his employment status, and he had been on paid leave. He had been on paid leave, so he had a paid vacation. That's great.
Yeah, wasn't that the whole thing of they didn't know who to get into contact with because he was, like, out to dinner or something? Like, he was on vacation.
No, the other guy who was supposed to be... The other guy was on vacation. This guy was actually there, and he just basically had no hand radio. He didn't do... Much later, I think he started recommending going at the window. I mean, you had 400 officers there, and they did nothing. And we heard in one call, like, one of the police officers says, you know, they're calling out to people in the room. And in one scenario, we heard that people actually died. The one kid died because they responded to the officer. So you have 400 guys literally out there, and no one wants to go in. And the only reason why they went in was because the Border Patrol actually disobeyed orders and went in. So, yeah, it's pretty bad so far. I'm just reading the comments and everything. Okay, nothing. So, I mean, like, let's continue the article. Uvalde committee releases Spanish translation report on school shooting. Okay. Arredondo has been criticized for his actions on the day of the shooting by Uvalde residents, other law enforcement officials, and state leaders. A special Texas House committee tasked with investigating the shooting determined that the school district chief failed to act quickly enough to shoot and kill the gunman. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed in the May 24th massacre. Uvalde residents increasingly have called for Arredondo's removal after investigators said that he erred by treating the law enforcement response as a barricaded subject instead of an active shooter, and by initially responding to the scene without his radio. So it's confirmed that he did not have his radio, and at first he said it was an office, but then they knew that people were bleeding out and dying, and he decided not to do it. So I don't know why this guy is not charged with criminal activities. Can you tell me why he's not being charged at all, Tony?
Because titles are important in this country. That's why. And when it comes to police or political things, anything to do with the government, looking bad is not the status quo. Do you get what I'm saying? You're not supposed to look bad. You're not supposed to fuck up.
Well, there's precedence. There's precedence to that. Like the Parkland deputy was charged with 11 counts in connection with the high school shooting. Why is that guy charged with criminal activity? And it's one guy, but you have literally people, 400 armed officers, and one is on leave. Can anyone answer me this goddamn question? While no one else is being, like, why isn't the chief being charged? Maybe I can give a little pass on some of these officers in the front and the barricade and stuff like that. But why is the chief not being charged with this when he knew that there were people in that goddamn classroom, when he knew that there was a woman bleeding out? And to let you realize that woman would have been alive if they would have went in there.
Yeah.
They both went to the hospital. They both had the ambulance. They weren't dead yet, those 2 teachers. And they let them bleed out and die. So I don't know why no one's being charged with any charges at all. I think the Parkland guy, actually, here, I'll toss you I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but here, we'll just go to the Parkland guy. Here, I'll toss you the video. Here's in the chat. News, ABC News, Parkland deputy charged with 11 counts in connection with the high school shooter. That's the video. So it's a short video, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, but there's precedence.
World News Tonight.
There's precedence that people will be charged with basically sitting around and letting people die. But you see the video, right?
Okay, this was June 4th, 2019 from ABC News. Parkland deputy charged with 11 counts in connection with the high school shooting. Again, credit goes to ABC News, and we're going to watch this now. Pressing play.
Is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, reporting tonight from London.
And good evening from London. We are here for the president's visit tonight before we head to Normandy, France, and we will get to all of that in just a moment here. But we do begin tonight with the breaking headline involving the deadly massacre in Parkland, Florida. We all remember 17
this is an example that there is precedence.
There are no
that this
charges.
could be done.
A former sheriff's deputy seen on surveillance outside that high school as the rampage was underway inside has now been criminally charged tonight. They say his inaction cost lives. On another surveillance camera, we saw the gunman making his way through that school while that deputy was outside. Tonight here, the results are just in after a 15-month investigation. And ABC's Victor Akendo leads us off from Florida.
As the horror was unfolding inside Marjorie's Stoneman Douglas High School, students taking cover to escape the gunfire.
No, this is traumatic.
Outside the school's resource officer, Broward Sheriff's Deputy Scott Peterson, hearing the shots.
I think we got shots fired. Possible shots fired. 1200 building.
Heading toward the building in this golf cart, then taking position outside for 27 minutes, never entering the building.
27 minutes.
When it was all over, 17 people were dead, another 17 injured. Tonight, that Florida deputy is under arrest, charged with 11 criminal counts, including 7 counts of child neglect. A state review finding Peterson refused to investigate the source of gunshots, retreated while victims were being shot, and directed officers away from the building. The Florida Department of Law
Does
Enforcement
this sound
says
familiar?
there can be no excuse for his complete inaction, and no question that his inaction cost lives. In an interview on the Today Show last year, Peterson said at the time he thought the shots were coming from outside.
I hear 2 to 3 loud shots. I thought they were gunshots, and I thought they were outside immediately, and the first thing I thought was somebody's shooting at us.
Tonight, Fred Guttenberg, who lost his daughter Jamie in the shooting, tweeting, "Rot in hell, Scott Peterson. You could have saved some of the 17. You could have saved my daughter. You did not, and then you lied about it, and you deserve the misery coming your way."
And Victor Akendo is with us live tonight from Florida. And Victor, we know that deputy had already resigned, and today he was taken into custody.
That's right, David. He was taken into custody on a $102,000.
So things can be done. It's just people choose not to.
Well, let's realize this. What was it? 27 minutes. He stood outside, didn't do anything, surrounded the building, and did. Does this all fucking sounds familiar? I mean, why isn't anyone being charged with literally knowing people are shot? 400 officers armed with weapons like AR-15s and body armor and bulletproof resistant shields, and no one's being charged. I would say at least the chief should be charged. He's the one that I think absolutely needs to be charged because he's the one that's directed everyone. It's in office, didn't have his radio, basically fucked up the whole thing completely. And he gets to keep his pension. He gets to go into retire. Once he gets fired, he gets to go for another job. I mean, give me a fucking break. Absolutely unbelievable. And we have the ability to actually punish this guy, but no one wants to. Why isn't no one talking about this guy being thrown in jail? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the parents want something done.
Yeah, pretty sure the parents want actual justice for their children, but they're not getting it, unfortunately.
No, they're not. We see the system. There's so many different systems in this country, and yet all of them seem to kind of fail in one way or another. And the worst type of systems that are failing, which we wish were not failing, were the systems to protect our kids. That's the issue. These systems are failing one way or another, whether it's CPS, DPS, whatever you call it, or it's just the police protecting a fucking school. And nobody wants to do nothing about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Just give me one moment. I was just tossed this by Sleuth. Let me see. Rob Elementary School principal on administrative leave following Uvalde school shooting. I did not see this. Let me read this article. One moment. Thank you, Sleuth, for the recommendation. I'll read it right now. Let me see. I'm just tossing you the article, Tony. Give me 1 second. It's in the general chat, but you know me. I'll toss it to you. So, here. I'll read it. Rob Elementary School principal on administrative leave following Uvalde school shooting. Mandy, Gauterias? Can you say that?
No, let me see. I just got it now. I think this is it.
Gauterias? I'm sorry. Attorney confirmed news to CNN. Let me see. This article is dated July 25th. So it just basically happened. Okay. Uvalde, Texas principal Rob Elementary School has been placed on administrative leave. Her attorney confirms to CNN. Mandy, not saying her last name because tough. Attorney Ricardo Cinderello said Mandy has placed on leave with pay on Monday. The school board is set to meet on Monday evening, but the item is not listed on the agenda. Surprise, surprise. A district spokesperson told KSAT she was not able to speak about Mandy's employment status. The Texas House report released earlier this month found that Mandy and her assistant knew about a problem with the lock to room 111 and the classroom where the gunman entered, but found that no work order was ever placed for a repair. The report also found that while an alert was sent to teachers and facilities that day, not all teachers received it due to poor wireless internet signal and the fact that many teachers didn't have their phone on them at the time. Mandy never attempted to communicate the lockdown over the school's intercom system, the report stated. She is the second district employee placed on leave, leaving the May 24th shooting that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead. The school board placed Police Chief Arredondo on leave in June. The board planned to meet Saturday to consider Arredondo's termination, but posted statements to the school district website on Friday saying that the meeting was delayed at the request of Arredondo's attorney, which we know. Wow, that's great. That's even more incompetent than I thought. She didn't even go on the intercom to tell people that there was a shooting? And then, like, there's so many levels of stupidity and corruption, and just people just should not have jobs. They should not have ever worked in this place. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, you think children would get something better than this. This is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting.
Well, they're doing it to protect their fucking asses. They're doing it to avoid a thing. The issue is, there is a thing. Something is happening. And it's like me and you can see it. Everybody else in chat, you can see it. How do we fix this?
I don't know if it's like easily it could be fixed, because I think, like, honestly, they're just like covering their asses right now. Because I think, like, worst case scenario for the chief is because he got fired, and then he's just gonna have to kind of stay low, and he's gonna get another job working in the police force. Matter of fact, I actually pulled up an article of his past. Like, what is his thing? And, excuse me. And basically, it's like, let me just get the article one moment. I think I tossed it to you earlier. One moment, guys, for the dead air. Fortunately, we're not professionals yet. Let me see. One moment. I think, yeah, there is. So if you pull up, if Uvalde CISD fires Pete Arredondo's, that article. So just to show you what I mean by him just basically able to keep his, just continue working in law enforcement, why don't you play the video on the actual Arredondo, like the video that's on the page, and just tell me when you started.
The video on the
article page. You see it, like
ksat.com.
Yeah, let me see what you got.
Yeah, because you didn't send me anything.
I just sent it to you. I'll send it to you again.
Did you send it in the chat, or did you send it to me personally?
I sent it to you personally a while ago, but one moment, second. I'll do it again, bro. No problem. Here you go. Here's the other one.
We pass so many videos to each other that we do lose.
Yeah. And I don't help. I gotta get more organized, guys. Sorry about that.
I already read
unfortunately.
We already read this, so we can get rid of this.
So you see it right now? I tossed it to you?
Yeah, it's loaded. Okay, here's the video. It's probably going to be an ad.
No, I don't mind. I actually like that article, Soothbomb. It's actually pretty informative.
They're just so in love.
It's funny how the teacher is getting more punished than the actual 400 officers.
New at 6 o'clock tonight, Uvalde school official
got shot. She should get punished. She should lose her job, honestly. But unfortunately, it's crazy. So just hit the play button, that video, and you can
it's loaded, and it's 3 seconds in.
Okay.
There was an ad, so I let the ad play.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, we have to learn about cars and Chevrolet now.
Because it's apparently very important. over
Yeah.
kids dying. But anyways, 3 seconds in and pressing play.
Officials may decide whether to fire Police Chief Pete Arredondo this weekend at a special board meeting.
What could that mean for the chief's license to be an officer in Texas? Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski is tracking the potential future of the embattled chief.
Well, Mia, even if the school district does vote to terminate Chief Arredondo, we discovered state regulators have limited authority, only in certain cases, to revoke a peace officer's license.
1 month after placing Pete Arredondo on leave, the Uvalde School District Saturday will consider his possible termination for good cause. But firing the chief for the flawed response to the Robb Elementary shooting would not trigger any immediate action against his license to be a Texas cop.
We don't have that authority. We can't do that.
Kim Vickers is executive director of TCOL, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which regulates peace officer licenses.
Unless they're charged with a criminal offense and get adjudicated, we're absolutely out of that picture.
Vickers says anytime any officer leaves a department, that agency must report whether they were honorably, generally, or dishonorably discharged.
Does a dishonorable discharge mean that officer no longer can be a peace officer in Texas?
Not in and of itself.
Under Texas law, Vickers says it takes 2 dishonorable discharges to automatically revoke an officer's license. KHOU reviewed Arredondo's employment history: 15 years at the Uvalde Police Department, 8 at the Webb County Sheriff's Office, nearly 3 years at United ISD Police and Uvalde CSID since 2020. We found no indication of a previous dishonorable discharge.
Agencies all over this state are struggling to find officers.
Speaking generally, Vickers says it's not uncommon for cops with troubled pasts to land a job elsewhere.
And it is frustrating, the limitations that we have on actually trying
fantastic.
to deal with some problem licensees.
Oops, sorry, I accidentally pressed the pause button. It's going.
Now, a couple of notes to all of this. By law, agencies are not required to publicly disclose whether an officer was dishonorably discharged. Also, any officer who does receive that designation has a right to appeal at a state hearing. Ron?
All right, Jeremy, we'll see what happens.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's a great system we have there.
What system? Do we even have a system? Let's be real.
That's great. I mean, you can be dishonorably discharged, and you can have another go. You can go into the profession, and you get like a kind of a discount. You can let 19 people die, and you can just get 1 dishonorably discharge. Worst case scenario, and they're so desperate for police officers, they can just hire you anywhere and continue making money being a police officer. That's really fantastic laws we have here. That's really great.
If I knew how easy it was to be a police officer. Well, I can't say that, because there are some police officers that go beyond. Do you get what I'm saying? They do their job. They have compassion and empathy. Yeah. There are some like that. It just so happens in this time and age, we see police officers, the worst of them. In this particular situation, though, I think they should all go, okay, we're not cut out for this job. Maybe we just let 19 kids and 2 adults die.
Yeah, I mean, and also Frank he says, I would pay to see
a throw ball. Yeah, I see the chat now, by the way, y'all.
Well, the challenge is out there. If you donate enough, I'm joking. That was a joke. We have to make one little joke once in a while. But anyhow.
Because if not, we would fucking go insane.
But the point is that this guy is going to he's going to continue working in the profession, even if he gets fired. And this kind of should make you kind of scared, because basically any officer that gets dishonorably discharged can keep their license and continue working in law enforcement in Texas. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. It's like every day I come on this stream and I learn more and more how flawed and fucked up this whole system is. And I wonder, how the hell does anything get done with this constant screw-ups and constant, destruction of the system? It's just amazing. So I'm going to read the article and continue reading the article. It says, since Robb Elementary mass shooting, the state top regulator over a Texas peace officer said he received almost daily emails from the public demanding his agency revoke the license of an embattled Uvalde CISD police chief Pete Arredondo. But under Texas law, it's not that simple. We don't have the authority. We can't do it. So. That's really great. Unless they are charged with a criminal offense and get adjudicated. We read that. So why is it that that other officer we just saw a video of was charged with 11 crimes and 7 of them was child endangerment, but this guy can literally not be charged with the criminal of 19 people being
19 kids and 2 adults.
When he knew that there were injured, bleeding people in there, and that he wrote a book stating that you're supposed to run in there. Like, to me, like, this seems like a very open and shut case to basically get this guy arrested, but no one's pushing that. And I would think a couple of officers should get arrested. I think those people that actually tasered the parents should be probably arrested for assault, in my opinion. Because I think that's ridiculously overboard.
Oh yeah, they went hog wild on those parents like it was a kegger or something, and they were trying to control. Like, y'all saw it, right?
Yeah, we saw a couple of ones.
I saw somebody got body slammed in front of a car.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in this article other than what we saw in the video. So the meeting is postponed. And what they're doing is this is a common tactic they do. Because, number one, he's probably got his lawyer, he's probably maybe part of a union, and they're probably trying to negotiate something going on. Maybe he's trying to keep his job, and it really sucks that that's happening. It really does suck that this guy's going to continue keeping his goddamn job. Or he's going to at least just go to another profession, like just simply go to another place to be a police officer.
God forbid anything happens. Well, I thought like when police officers get old and they had enough of on-field work and stuff like that, they just become like probation officers or something.
Well, that would require you to do work.
Oh, you just sit there and take a drug test.
Yeah, that would require you to do work. This guy doesn't do any work. He doesn't even like lift a finger when a kid's getting shot. Pretty much, he did nothing. He absolutely.
No, you're right. It is, but if you're not good at something, I know reality sucks, honey, but if you're not good at it, then turn in your gun and badge.
Good requires you to try. He didn't try. I mean, I'm wondering what the hell he did for those 20 years that he was a police officer. Number one,
I would like to see his record.
Number one, the guy is looks like he's 300 pounds. I don't know if he's chasing any subject. I'm sorry. Comments about his weight.
No. We're not going to go there because I have seen some fat cups jump a fence chasing after a meth addict.
I want to see those videos.
Not only is it hilarious, but he did his job.
Well, not this guy, but I know.
Not this guy. This guy, obviously, he's. I don't know him. That's the thing. And it's really hard for me to say anything negative, but what's fueling the fire, 19 kids. 19 kids.
What's fueling my fire is that you have a guy who basically wrote the book. Let me paint the scenario for you. Mm-hmm. This guy wrote the book on what you should do in a mass shooting in school. His job was to basically organize the whole area. He knew he was in command. He's pushing off responsibility to someone else who's on vacation, by the way, and he doesn't have a radio. He knows kids are calling in, screaming for their lives, trying to say, "Can the cop please save me?" One of his officers even contacted his wife, the teacher, who he finds out being shot. We saw that video of that guy being pushed away. Yeah. So, what do you say about a guy who literally sits there and does nothing? And basically, am I not supposed to insult this piece of shit?
No. I'm not saying that. I hope the worst type of karma on this man ever. And also, those other police officers. It's not just him. Okay, we can't blame everything on him. Because if I was in this situation, like if I was a cop there, do you really think I was going to wait for an okay for anything? No! After 5 minutes, I'll start being in a panic after hearing a million gunshots. I'm running fucking in. I don't care what my boss says. If I had a chance to fucking take out that shooter, do you think I'm going to care what this doorknob thinks of me? No. I'll gladly lose my job. No,
that's very true.
It's not just him. It's also the police officers that didn't do shit at all. I mean, we can blame him for the whole unit, and I know people want him to turn his gun and badge in, but let's be realistic, people.
I want more.
I want, yeah, exactly. I want more. I want those cops too.
I think there's maybe a couple of officers. I would say the beginning officers that came in, they attempted, and unfortunately they just weren't trained. But like all excuses kind of go out the window when you have guys with AR-15s and ballistic shields and all that. They should have went in.
How are they not trained?
And they're not. Well, the thing is that they're not trained, but they're not. They don't have leadership. They have a guy who's literally just like out to pasture, has no clue what's going on. So let's go to our last.
It's fucking ridiculous. There's no excuse to it. You're a fucking police officer. You are our urban soldiers. You are supposed to protect us here.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it urban soldiers, but they're in police and law enforcement. They're not soldiers.
They're the first response on anything. I mean, they are. They are. And that is your duty. That is what you signed up to do. And if you can't handle the task, then please fucking step aside. I'm not being mean. There's some police officers out there that will move the world and have empathy and have feelings and emotions. But then you get some cops that are just fucking waste of space. They're
going through the motions. They're going through the motions.
Yeah, and this is why I think that they need every so many years a refresher course. And also I think that they should get therapy, mandatory therapy.
Wait. The thing is that they were trained. You're missing the point. They were trained.
And they failed, so they should go.
They actually did, I think, a scenario of actually practicing for a mass shooting for the school. I think it was like maybe a year or less than a year before this. Mm-hmm. So they actually had training. The guy wrote a book. They had the equipment. They had the training. And they
all should go. They should all go.
So then, the next problem is how do you replace 400 officers in the town? That's the problem.
I'm pretty sure.
Or 300.
Well, when it said 400 officers, it said 400 officers out of state, from what I read. So other officers came in, not out of state, excuse me, out of county.
Yeah.
Came, okay? Maybe they would offer their time and be like, okay, I'll work here for XXX, and, there's things that stations can do.
That's not how it works. It's not how it works. What's going to happen is, I'm going to be very cynical about this, it's most likely this guy who we have this fantastic picture of on the screen is going to take a little bit of the fall. He's probably going to lose his job. He's going to keep his pension. He's probably going to, wait, let it die down for a year, and then he's probably going to go into being an officer in another state. I don't know if there's ever going to be a lawsuit. I don't think it will be. I don't know if the parents want to do it. And I don't think that anything's going to change. I think the principal's done. She's going to lose her job. And I think a few officers might be on leave. But I think because
Did you say the principal?
Yeah, the principal. We read an article about her.
Okay. I was just double checking because I didn't click right away.
Yeah. So basically there's going to be a couple of fall guys. And then even the governor who basically said, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know nothing about this, that the police force completely lying to me and basically making a bullshit report, which I don't understand how no one's being charged with crimes for writing false police reports and handing them out to everyone. I mean, they wrote like 3-4 different fucking police reports.
They need to gut the whole entire thing out. What's the difference between having no cops and these cops? Nothing whatsoever.
Well, the difference is that you might actually have a gun and you can defend yourself, but
this is the point, Texas. So.
Yeah, I mean, like basically this shows a huge amount of corruption that is occurring in this area, and maybe it's a highlight of corruption generally in a lot of other states. So this is why it's a big deal.
Obviously, there's going to be.
Yeah, but shouldn't it not be, especially when kids are around? But yeah, that's.
Oh no, but the thing is, those school shootings are more common ever since Columbine. So nothing has been fixed then. So what do you expect for things? I mean, I'm not being an asshole when I say this, but we know what the problem is.
Yeah. So let's go to the last video. It's going to be the last video of this story, and then we'll go to the China one.
You have it up. You sent me?
Yeah, you have it up with. Let me just give it to you. One moment.
Continues.
Yeah, the wait continues. It'll be the last video on this, and then we'll jump to the China one, and then if there's time, we'll see if there's something else. But let's continue.
Okay, so this is from Ken 5 News, your San Antonio news source, and so credit goes to them. And we're at 0 seconds, and we're going to press play now.
finally some type of justice. And then they just go and say, oh, it's going to be canceled.
That's one of many Uvalde parents livid tonight after the school board announced it will not meet tomorrow. Trustees were scheduled to decide whether they'd fire District Police Chief Pete Arredondo. Hours ago, school administrators canceled that meeting, citing legal concerns. It's not clear when those issues will be resolved. Superintendent Hal Harrell recommended firing the chief this week.
Pause.
When does it, like, another thing I just want to say, when does it become a legal issue to fire a person that doesn't do his job?
I don't understand.
Like, how is that illegal?
Just fire them.
Yeah, how is that a goddamn legal issue? Can someone please tell me this, like, in the chat or anything?
Is there a difference between somebody flipping burgers at McDonald's compared to this? Like, if you fuck up your job, you're fired.
Yeah, especially if your job was to protect children and they all died. I'm sorry to be, like, very dark, but yeah, like, this guy.
The reality of it is that's the reality of it, though.
So I'm sorry we paused at 35 seconds, but I just wanted to point that out. We can continue.
Okay, pressing play now.
This week, days after another heated board meeting. KENS 5 reporter Matt Houston has been working to determine whether this delay is warranted.
I mean, there's some outrage out there.
Adam Martinez says he's becoming jaded.
It's not surprising that it was canceled.
He's among dozens of parents who've demanded action from Uvalde's school board, specifically,
y'all hire him, y'all can fire him,
related to Police Chief Pete Arredondo. Martinez has 2 children enrolled in UCISD schools, including an 8-year-old who evacuated Rob on May 24th. He says he doesn't trust the chief to protect those kids next year.
We have to show that we can hold them accountable. Otherwise, it's just a joke.
Superintendent Hal Harrell wanted to fire Arredondo tomorrow, but the chief's attorney asked for a delay. Legally, Arredondo has a right to an explanation and a chance to defend himself.
Stop
priorities is to get information.
Stop it.
Okay,
please stop it.
So he has a right to do this, but they delayed it. I would say
wait.
But fire him.
You missed the part. He has a right for an explanation? What the fuck does he need an explanation for? He knows.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, that's fine. You have a right for that. Okay, just say. Apparently he does. Legally, he has a right for that. It's not going to change or sway anybody.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let's say you worked at a fast food restaurant, right? And you went in there and you stole all the money in the cash register. And then they decided to fire you. And then you said, I need an explanation why I'm being fired. And everyone's seeing you steal money from the cash register.
That's a different... No, that's...
How is that any different?
No, that's backwards. If I stole from the thing, from the cash register and you're the boss, I don't ask you for an explanation, you ask me. You got it twisted. It's the other way around. Yeah, and I have been fired from a job before,
I think that's what
I had to explain. And I was like,
I
fucked up. You know, like I don't understand the cash register.
But the point is that they're asking for an explanation of why he's going to be fired. We know why you're going to be fired, because you completely fucked up your job and you allowed multiple people to die.
Is that what it means, or is he trying to explain his part of the story? It doesn't matter what he explains. Everybody, I even want
He's asking to be explained of the charges of why he's being fired. That's what's happening. He's asking, why am I being fired? That's the situation. He wants to know why.
Hold on, I'm rewinding it real quick. Is that really what was? Hold on.
Yeah,
Arredondo tomorrow. But the chief's attorney asked for a delay. Legally, Arredondo has a right to an explanation and a chance to defend himself.
Our priorities is to get...
He does have a right for an explanation of why.
No, he doesn't have a right for an explanation. He doesn't have a right for an explanation.
Morally, he does not, but apparently that's how they do it. I don't know. And
then let me see.
It doesn't sway me from everybody's outcome. We all want to see him gone.
Yeah,
so whatever filler he fucking needs to make himself feel better, fine, but
It's
you're still
not
out the
filler.
fucking
It's not
door.
filler. It's not filler.
It's a
But let me
delay.
just read. If the union becomes involved, Basquiat says, and then it says, Al Frank says, yes, there is a different, but I won't and swear, and then Superman says, yeah, there's worse penalties in literally every job, and the problem is now the guy was just elected as well. He actually stepped down from the board voluntarily. They didn't fire him. Oh, and I would love to hear his explanation, though. And well, I let all the children die because I forgot my depends and I was scared.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, whatever he's asking for, it's all fucking, like Bass said, stalling. It's just stalling.
Yeah,
the inevitable is still going to be there.
Yeah, but it's such lunacy.
I know it's annoying. Yeah,
it's not stupidity, it's lunacy. That a guy can keep his job, ask for an explanation, and then even if he does, he's been making...
Right, Frank? Calm down.
Tim, calm down.
I know it's about kids,
yeah.
and I get it, but I'm the type of person, I'm like, well, you can have whatever the fuck you want, darling, but this is the deal. You can say whatever you want, we can give you what you want, but at the end of the day, your ass is fired. Do you get what I'm saying?
You don't get the insanity of it.
No, it's insane to ask, well, why am I fired? Oh, well, because you let 19 kids and 2 students die. That's why, idiot.
Well, I'm not going to blame all of the death zone because people were dead there. But I would say 15 minutes in, you should have went in, to be honest with you.
Going to force them to negotiate him into a lower job. I mean, he could.
That's a possibility.
I mean, he could.
Or he could just, he gets fired. He gets one, bad record, 1 strike on there, and then he goes for another law enforcement job. He can continue working.
Oh, this is more than just 1 bad strike. It's not like he...
Well, that's what's going to happen. That's all that's going to happen. That's the biggest thing that's going to happen to him. He gets fired, loses his position, he has to look for another police job. Pretty much. And they just said they're desperate for police. So even a guy who let people die, he's got a bright future in the police force.
How old is he?
I don't know. That's actually a good question.
Because, you know what? Give up the dream, honey. Just retire. You're not a good cop. You're a horrible human being. You can't make fast decisions like a cop should. You have no courage whatsoever. I don't even know why you have a badge. Give up the dream.
I don't know. They don't really say. Let me see. That's a good question. I don't know.
Tim said, Frank says, Tim also breed meats food is an old friend of mine.
Oh, he's talking about the food thing. I watch.
Okay.
Also, bird meats food is an old friend. It's we're jumping off subject because that's Frank's superpower. He can just throw something out there and throw us off subject. But I don't mind this. I watch this guy who eats food a lot, food eating challenge. He goes to bars and restaurants and eats all the food in a half
kind of
hour
like Matt Stone.
Yeah, and he has a beard and he lives in Britain, so it's a good job. But anyway, he's going to settlement in a betcha. Probably he's going to settlement. But I'm trying to look for his age because this guy he Tony throws a question out there. Sometimes I forgot to look. He's 55 to 60.
He's 55. That's what it says. He's 55.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it says Peter.
10 more years. So he probably wants to try to stick it out for another 10 years before he can retire.
Well, if he's making $91,000, $91,000 a year, his pension must be ludicrous.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing too. 401k in Texas, it's their own system. It's not the same. So if he was to change his job, they do their own system there in Texas. I don't know much about it, but I do know that the Texas 401k kind of traps you into staying at your job. But he's probably trying to work until he can, 60, what is it, 62, 65 around there is when people retire to get full benefits and full 401 and all that. But the thing is,
most likely he's going to retire as a millionaire. Okay, he's going to retire as a multimillionaire, and he's not going to lose his. Yes, absolutely, yes. If you're making $94,000 and you actually get benefits from the city, you get an insane retirement.
Is that how much he's getting? That's
how much he's getting paid per year. So imagine he's been working 15 to 20 years. That's a lot of money. He's probably going to be a multi-millionaire, even if he retires right now. Okay, he gets to keep his pension. Only way he could lose his pension if he was charged with a crimes. That's why I kind of want him to be charged with a crime. I kind of want him to get punished.
Didn't they say earlier that they can't charge him? Like they can't.
I don't know how you can't. I don't know how you can charge that guy who's by himself with waiting only 27 minutes. But these people who waited almost an hour and 20 minutes, and had multiple weapons that could take over a town or a small city, couldn't take out one untrained 18-year-old kid. Give me a break. Let's continue the video. I'm sorry for the rants. I'm sorry for being emotional. But it's like, I'm tired of the corruption. I'm tired of this bullshit bureaucracy corruption here. And it gets me the most annoyed because what it gets to me is it basically means nothing's going to change. This guy is going to be 2 or 3 people are going to be scapegoats, and then they're just going to forget about it. And they're going to put some bullshit locks. They're probably going to overpay some like general contractor to put some bullshit locks and some alarms and fix the intercom for that one school. And then they're going to shove those kids back into that school. And they're not going to care about the next school possibly. And they're not going to go into any sort of freaking training or any sort of fixing of the system that allowed this to happen. And now that's basically what's going to happen. And that's a very cynical view, but that's how I figure how the city works. That's how the government works, unfortunately.
It's all schools. It's not just the ones in Texas. It's not just the one in that county. It's all fucking schools all over.
Yeah, so let's continue. Let's finish up the video.
Okay.
133.
Yep, pressing play now.
Get information to our families.
The embattled officer has been on leave for the last month, collecting a paycheck, according to the town paper. He's likely the highest salaried law enforcement official in Uvalde County. But the district announced today they won't pay him any longer.
They need to get it together, come up with a plan, and then give us the information.
Martinez says he's lost faith in the school district. He wants the superintendent to step down, too.
Matt Houston joins us live now. And Matt, if the school board eventually fires Arredondo, can he take a job with another law enforcement agency?
Yeah, ECC can. He can work pretty much where he wants without restriction. We've got his state records here, and there's nothing in his personnel file that would prevent him from joining another agency, even if he is dishonorably discharged from his current position. Now, Texas law enforcement experts note that he is pretty recognizable at this point, so it may be a little difficult for him to find a new gig. We're live on the Northwest Side. I'm Matt Houston.
Great. You can get a new job, become a multi-millionaire with your pension because you sat on your ass for 20 years, and basically let people die, and it's just considered a one strike. That's really great system we have in Texas. I mean, fantastic. Love it. It really puts hope to me about the future of America. What do you think?
Oh, there is no future for America. At least we're doing better than China.
Well, we're getting there soon. We're getting there.
I'm just saying, like. I'm at the point of I had that voice and I would shout my opinion and be like, what the fuck is going on? I want to see a change. And it's been years. And now I'm at that point in my life where I'm like, nothing's going to get better. I'm going to change how I do things in my home, how I do things in my family, how I do things in my community, how I do things in my city. And that's it. I'm going to worry about that because you know why? Because nothing little Latin boy in fucking Boston is going to do.
Well, you live in Alaska. You live in Alaska.
Well, I'm just saying.
We want to tell the people where you really live. You live in Alaska.
Everybody fucking knows I live in Boston. I don't give a fuck.
So,
there's nothing I can fucking do. So what I give everybody advice to, do something small. Do something small because you're just going to stay angry because nothing will ever change. But you doing little bits in your home, your family, your community, your county, your city, that's what matters right now. Do little changes.
Yeah, and then Frank says, pass. It's like the head of social services here, and children died under her care, and she left quietly and was paid very handsomely. Yeah, he's probably talking about like Britain. Yeah, it's like that's such a fucked up part of our system where people can literally fail and they get promotions and they get paid, they get the retirement, and it's just crazy. And now we're going to go to another dystopian subject. how the entire Chinese co-op, how one guy scammed $6 billion from people and is possibly hiding in America, and how the entire economic system is about to collapse in China and probably throw the entire world into an economic depression yet again because of the horrible, horrible financial system we have now. That's really great. So let's continue, guys. Let's go to China banks fail, and then we'll. All right, so this is from Business at Basic. Let me put the link in there. You know me, I watch everything when it has to do with China. Here you can put the link with the YouTube. That's the link we'll put out there, and we're gonna be talking about two subjects with China. One, how now no one wants to put their money in banks, and another where people are stopping to pay their mortgage. Right now, about 800,000 Chinese people are not paying their mortgage. And if you know anything about Lehman Brothers, that's basically how the 2008 collapse happened, when people stopped paying their mortgages and literally almost bankrupted the United States, basically. So let's continue with China, and we're going to see the rioting and all the craziness.
A little bit more to it. There's a little bit more to it as well. Well, if you don't know what's going on, China, in random locations, in big cities too, are in lockdown. So nobody's working, nobody has money, nobody's paying shit.
No, it's more than that. It's that's part of the reason. There's other reason is that basically what happens, they have something called, we're jumping a little ahead. They have something called pre-sales. So they basically have an empty lot, and then they can sell the building before they build the building. And what happens is that you put 30% down, and then basically the Chinese, and then the bank puts 70% down. And the money is supposed to be held and supposed to be periodically paid to the developer based on certain parts of the building being built. And it turned out that wasn't the case, and a lot of times these projects are abandoned. But this person who has the mortgage in their name still has to pay for the unbuilt apartment that they bought. Yeah. And also in China, there is no actual concept of ownership of land. You only pay for a 70-year lease. So imagine having to pay for a mortgage to a property that you don't even own, and then eventually 70 years from now you have to release it from the government. So fantastic system in China we got there. Let's press play on the video, and if there's any questions, we'll stop and we will answer them. Let's
play now.
Yep, they're pulling out tanks right now. That is very foreboding.
This is not bankrupt Sri Lanka or any other developing country. This is the scene in China, the world's second largest economy. Citizens are storming the Bank of China after being unable to access or withdraw their life savings for months. In my previous video about Chinese banks, I covered how this situation started in the Henan region of China. Now the problem is spreading throughout the country, and people are panicking over losing access to their hard-earned money.
看到没？大伙儿看到没？各界媒体啊，中央的爷爷奶奶们，你们看一看，都有暴力机关，那些警察把我们合理维权的嘱咐，这些人你看到没？这还是中国的天吗？这还是中国吗？救救这些老百姓，救救这些主妇吧。
More details have now come out from the fraud investigation that shows that the fraudster behind the Henan bank scheme has possibly left the country and gotten foreign citizenship. The government is refusing to return the $6 billion that have disappeared from bank deposits. As the news picks up steam in Chinese social media and mainstream media, the strain on Chinese banks is getting heavier and heavier. Now it's deemed less safe to keep cash in these banks, including the big four state-owned banks. It's extremely likely that China is heading towards a complete collapse of its financial systems as people lose trust in the banks. This could have far-reaching effects on its economy and the global economy.
Banks are also embroiled in an ongoing scandal involving several rural lenders in the central Henan province.
$6 billion in deposits disappeared adding social instability, protests, and street agitation.
This is expected to have repercussions beyond the country's financial sector.
In a financial crackdown that has had ripple effects across the world's second largest economy.
Before jumping into the investigation and the fugitive, let's quickly go over the scheme that kickstarted this whole panic.
Pausing.
Okay. So basically, the whole economy is fucking gonna collapse because, and just to describe the video a little bit, those guys who were in the white shirts, they were basically hired by the banks and the government to beat up the protesters, just by the way. Yeah. And basically when they said depositors, what happened is that they put money in the bank and they thought it was a bank and they thought they were going to get 4% interest in the bank, and it turns out it was actually like a money management company, and they lied to a bunch of people, and people that put their whole life savings is gone. And now I just want to explain that little bit so if people were kind of lost in that translation. Let's continue the video.
Okay.
We're at 2:30.
Yeah, pressing play now.
I covered this in detail in my previous video. I would highly recommend you check that out by clicking the card above, but here's a quick recap. And first, a side note. A lot of my China videos are bombarded with negative comments and dislikes from bots.
Probably the Chinese government.
If you guys enjoyed the content, it would help me out a lot if you scroll down and
they
hit that
use
like
a lot
button.
of bots in China.
Customers of the 4 small banks in Henan have been locked in a months-long dispute with these banks after they suddenly suspended online cash withdrawals in April. Banks initially attracted deposits by offering extremely high interest rates and advertised
4%.
it as a risk-free rate. Banks also skirted around Chinese banking laws by advertising online and attracting deposits outside their jurisdiction. As COVID hit, the house of cards started crumbling and banks had to shut down withdrawals to prevent bankruptcy back in April. In order to not cause panic, banks claimed that online systems were being taken down for scheduled upgrades. But it's been months now, and online services are still not back up. When depositors go to the ATM to withdraw their cash, it seems to decline the transaction, and eventually it shuts down the card in suspicion of fraud.
Whoa!
In an attempt to stop customers from withdrawing their own money. 3 months
Imagine
later,
that happened here.
customers still have not been able to access their funds, which has led to various protests and other actions.
Large group of very angry demonstrators faced off with the police.
The recent mass protests will be worrying for leaders.
Later on, we'll see how this panic is now spreading to other provinces and the entire Chinese banking
Yeah, you can
sector.
stop it for a second.
But first, let's go over what the authorities investigate.
Okay.
We gotta talk. So basically, now you see what's happening. People are now afraid to put their money. What's going to happen is people are going to be afraid to put their money into these banks because they believe that they're going to be completely lost. The government's not doing jack shit to help these people. And you might wonder, why the fuck does this have to do with me? I live in Britain, I live in America, I live in Australia, wherever you live. The problem is that our economy is interlocked with each other because we're in the world economy, you know. The world economy and all the financial institutions are connected. Like when we cut off trades with Russia, it hurt like the United States majorly and all these other countries. Imagine if China, who is the second largest economy, which makes all our shit, and basically goes belly up. How are they going to get loans to actually make the stuff that we buy ever? It will completely collapse the goddamn economy. Like it would be worse than 2008. Absolutely worse. And if this doesn't scare the shit out of you, I don't know what does. Maybe if you knew that Chief Arredondo was your, chief of police, that would scare me a lot more. But this is pretty bad. This is absolutely terrifying.
Was it that bad in America? I wasn't in America when
2008?
Yeah, no, I was living in Canada.
Okay. Basically,
so I wasn't affected, so I don't understand. Like,
you were affected, but probably everyone was affected. Like, you have to realize in 2008, people don't realize this, that literally the entire economy was about to explode. When Lehman Brothers went over, it was a dominoes effect. And if the Fed and all these governments didn't throw money at the whole problem, like tons of money early on, we would have faced a financial disaster.
Wasn't there the big bailout that Obama did?
Yes, he had to do the bailout, because if he didn't do the bailout, eventually every bank would have went belly up, because we have something called fractional reserve currency. And fractional reserve currency is basically like you set reserves and the amount of money you can lend. So basically, an example in this video that's going to talk about, it will make it explain a lot easier. You will probably think it's a scam, and it is. It is the worst economic system you can ever imagine, and everyone in the world uses it. And it's going to cause a run on the banks. There's not enough money to pay depositors out. And imagine if suddenly you go to your local bank and you can't draw any money. That will be very great. And then suddenly now you can't buy food. And do you think there's going to be law and order? Nope. It's just like it's a nightmare scenario. And if people don't see that, they are blind. It's really bad. So let's continue. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
I would suggest buy people. That's why I bought silver. I'm not advertising that, but I bought silver a while ago. So, and I probably need some other things if that happens.
Do you physically have like a silver bar in silver, or is it?
I don't have bars. I have coins. A little thing is a little tip to people is that you want to buy like American currency, like dimes, nickels, and quarters from pre-1965. They're like 90% silver. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you're thinking about like a post-apocalyptic situation where you have to use some stupid bartering system, most likely you're not going to be able to cut up a piece of a silver bar into pieces to pay for your local food. So buying giant bars of silver is not a good idea. But if you're thinking about like if things are going to be collapsed, most likely you want a small little bit of silver to actually kind of give to people. If you really think the entire economy is going to collapse. I would recommend probably people buy coins from pre-1965, but that's just my opinion. You can buy even junk silver that has like not collectible items, just like that just aren't collectible and they're still worth its weight in silver. Just a thought, maybe a tip on silver. Just say, I always say diversify. Always make sure you have a little silver just in case the world economy collapses, or gold. But I would probably go with silver.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
We're gonna be advertising bunkers, and we're gonna.
Oh fuck that! It's gonna come to that. But all right. 4 minutes and 34 seconds, and pressing play now.
Investigation has revealed. Authorities found that 4 banks in Henan had one commonality, and that commonality was Henan New Fortune Group, who was a shareholder in all 4 companies. They were the ones who pushed the limits in terms of following the banking restrictions. Since the law requires local banks to stay in their jurisdiction, they decided to advertise online to attract more deposits. On top of pushing the limits in who they can serve, they also misled consumers through false advertising. Many depositors who decided to do business with these banks were promised upwards of 4% interest on their deposits. But in reality, these consumers weren't really opening a normal bank account. They were in fact investing in financial products, 2 completely different things that customers would learn later down the line. Remember these points, as this becomes a bigger issue when the CCP decides to get involved. On top of false advertising, these new deposits didn't go to the banks. Oh no. Henan New Fortune Group colluded with bank employees and made sure that customer deposits went straight to the shareholder accounts. As authorities were made aware of these risky practices, they were quick to charge 2 executives with fraud. Authorities were able to arrest 1 executive, but the chairman of the company has since fled the country and is suspected that he has made his way into the United States. With him are gone the $6 billion that customers had deposited into the bank. This is where the true headache for the authorities began.
Know this?
They can't return the money, even if they wanted to.
In the United States,
this wasn't
like,
some
no.
Bernie Madoff type scheme.
Stop it.
This was way worse than that.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a couple of videos where he basically had a charity in the United States, and he gave, let's just say, generous donations to our local representatives. So most likely they know.
Wait, I saw an article the other day, yesterday. Or is this recently? Because I saw something about the Republican Party got generous donations.
No, actually, both parties, and he would do like some sort of charity or something like that. And
So they know who it is.
Everyone knows who it is. He's hiding out in America, but he's probably keeping a low profile. And basically, if you didn't catch it, basically the money never went into the bank accounts. It actually was pocketed by the shareholders, and this guy was one of the shareholders. So think about it like they would send the money, then the shareholders would grab the money in between with electronic systems, give it to themselves, and then the money would never go to the actual bank account, like the banks for a deposit.
The other shareholders are still in China, right?
Well, yeah, I'm probably in hiding, my guess. But maybe there weren't a ton of shareholders, let's just say. You know, this is like a $6 billion scam. So basically, let's continue.
Okay. Press and play.
In the case of Madoff, the government was able to recover most of the principal amounts that victims had deposited. But in China's case, there's nothing left to recover.
Nothing's left.
Once all this started coming out, banks were quick to turn off their online systems, which proved a big headache for a lot of their customers. Remember earlier how I mentioned that these banks advertised online to acquire a lot of their depositors? This meant that a lot of those customers were left in the dark when systems went offline. They were stuck in a whole different city or state with no explanation for why they couldn't access their money. This is when some depositors traveled to Henan to get their money and were faced with the long lines and frozen funds. Some of these people had their entire life savings in these banks as they assumed they were safe deposits. This is when, with no hope left, depositors decided to set public protests in hope of getting someone's attention who can help.
Terrible. It's fucking terrible.
And they got the attention, but, well, not the kind they were hoping for.
Yeah, the government's attention.
Within hours, swaths of local security forces showed up to disperse the protesters, warning them that they were an illegal assembly and would be detained if they refused to leave. Later videos posted on social media showed the scene turning violent. One video showed an unidentified team of men in plain black or white clothes, who many have speculated were part of security forces, being pelted with water bottles and other objects as they charged into the crowd. Another video showed individuals being shoved and dragged down the steps by the same plain-clothed men, with some protesters left with broken bones and eye injuries. Experts have pointed out that these plainclothes men are security forces sent by the government to shut down protests. But the power abuse does not stop there. To deal with a growing number of protesters who were traveling in from different regions, some local officials changed the codes of the personal health apps of more than 1,000 depositors to imply that they were at high risk of having been exposed to COVID-19 and prevent them from protesting. This made the situation worse, as the news of power abuse went viral on social media and only exacerbated the panic. One question everyone was asking is, what happened to the government-backed insurance?
Stop it. So they're using COVID tests now to stop protesters. They say, oh, well, you're going to come to the city and protest so you can get your money back? Well, we're not going to let you. You have COVID. You could stay 7 days in your home in quarantine. Matter of fact, we might come to your house and grab you and put you in an isolation tank where you will be paid, where you will have bread and water, and you can just stay in your little pod, and you can suffer, even though we don't think you have COVID. We might actually shove you in a pod with someone with COVID, so you might die and you won't get any medical treatment because you got scammed by the banks and our friends in the Communist Party.
Mind you, y'all, how America as a whole, like Canada, Brazil, like Mexico, like America as a whole, we have dealt with COVID with the vaccines and stuff a little bit better than China has. So to them, getting COVID could be more deadlier than what it is now today in the United States.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because their vaccine is kind of
No, they have no vaccine. Their vaccine doesn't work. Their vaccine actually killed a general in Pakistan.
Oh, okay, so yeah. So basically, what we had in the Americas, that, March and April, when everything started to go down, they've been dealing with it since then. Ours has kind of curved, but theirs is still at the peak.
Yeah, and pretty much they're just now using it as a way to fight, like throw people in jail now, to make them not protest. But let's continue the video. I mean, like, this is kind of amazing just to see the craziness that's happening, but let's continue.
Similar to FDIC insurance here in the USA, which guarantees up to $250,000 of depositors' money, China has their own bank deposit insurance. A lot of protesters and onlookers wondered, why hasn't that insurance kicked in? Well, hold on tight, because this is where the real finger-pointing begins. Remember earlier when I said that these banks advertised their services as normal deposits, but in reality customers were investing in wealth management products? Yeah, about that. Only regular deposits are covered under deposit insurance, which makes sense as investments do carry risk. The only sucky part is that all these customers thought they were putting their money in as normal deposits and were getting 4% returns, only realizing after the fact that they had been duped. So, some customers decided to take the banks to court in hopes of recovering their money. The court basically said that the bank can't be held liable as it was the employees who colluded with the Henan investment group.
Stop it for a moment.
Not the bank.
I just want to point that out. It was the employees that were employed by the bank that scammed you, but not the bank, so the bank's not liable. How ludicrous is that logic?
Well, where are they?
What?
Well, where are they? The bank employees. They don't seem to be rich and living the high life. Now, do they? It's the owners.
Yeah, probably. My guess is that the bank was in collusion, but now the fall guys is the people that work in the bank.
Yeah.
So, pretty much that's my thought process, because I don't think you could pull a $6 billion scam without, like, basically some sort of insider help with the larger ups in the bank. So, that is a thought process. Let's continue the video.
Alright, play.
Everyone is just trying to shift blame to the next guy, all while average citizens are suffering. Now, this is where the CCP puts out a statement to calm the crowds, right? Well, no, not really. The CCP basically said that everyone should look into the numbers and financial statements of the banks before depositing your money. Don't fall for false advertising. Always make sure your money is going in insured banks and not in wealth management products, as only deposits are insured, not wealth management products. Well, I guess it was a little too late for that warning. Now, this news spread like wildfire on social media. People are starting to lose trust in the safety of their money in banks. There are viral posts telling people to withdraw their cash and keep it in their house. Now, if you know anything about the modern banking system, you can see why that's not a good sign for any economy. Most countries work on what's called fractional reserve banking. Here's how that works. Let's say the central bank sets the reserve requirement at 10%. So whenever you deposit $100 in the bank is only required to keep 10% of that in the vault, or $10. So what the bank will do is take the extra $90 and loan it out to anyone who's looking for a loan. Let's say I get that $90 loan. Now I go spend that $90 on buying a new mic for my studio. Now the person who sold me the mic has $90 and he decides to deposit that into the bank. Now the bank is only required to keep 10% of that, or $9, so they will loan out the other $81. And the cycle will just keep repeating itself, and this is how our modern economy works in very simple terms. But remember, in our imaginary example, all this started with just $100. From that $100, the bank was able to create $1,000 of money in circulation. Now what happens is everyone who deposited the money tries to withdraw it all at once. Well, this is when the bank collapses. If too many people try to withdraw too much money. Just to point out, this was an oversimplification of a very complicated topic, but hopefully you get the point. The whole thing is built on trust.
So
people need to be able to
What he
trust.
explained the problem with that scenario is?
Say that again, sorry?
You understand the scenario, what the problem is, or do you want me to explain how bad it is?
Well, it's basically everybody's trying to take cash out, and the banks can't keep up with it because that 10% isn't enough to carry that $100. Do you get what I'm saying?
You're almost there. Let me explain. This is for all world economy. It's not just China. We have the same system. The bank artificially, let's say you give that $100 to the bank. The bank will artificially create a $900 more out of thin air because of the reserve, like that guy explained. And what happens is that is loaned out. Now, when they get interest payments and all that stuff, everything's good. They're getting a huger return for that $100, and they're able to usually keep your bank account. All the workers they're employed, and everything's good. The problem is that when people start, let's say, go in there and let's say they try to withdraw that $1,000, but only $100 of that actually exists, and the $900 doesn't exist. So they are creating money out of thin air and if anyone runs towards the bank to collect the money that they're owed, the bank doesn't have enough money to actually give them.
I get it.
And this also goes for America as well. We have the same system, and all other countries.
See, y'all were telling me not too long ago, you need to get a real bank account, stop using PayPal, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no, this is why I just stick with debit cards. I put $10 in and I get $10 out, period.
PayPal does the same thing. PayPal is a bank.
Yeah, but I don't want to say too much about my income, because but I'm saying, like, business.
All financial systems, all financial economic systems, all banks,
yeah,
all
but I trust my system a lot more than I trust banking now. So fuck that. I'm not going to go to the Bank of America. I'm going to stick with what I know.
Yeah.
Because I've never been fucked over. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I've never had an issue.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I'm hoping you never get fucked up, to be honest with you. But that's the thing I'm trying to explain. So that's the crazy thing. So now you have, what happens if people don't have trust in the bank? What is this guy's scenario saying? If people have no trust in the Bank of China, which they haven't in the past, they used to just keep their money on them and they never deposited, the entire economy will collapse. And this is only 50% of the story. We'll have another video we're going to go through, and I'll toss it to you later. But we'll continue. Just press play.
Trust that banks are safe and their money is safe with them. To ensure that there is trust in the system, the FDIC guarantees the deposits here in the United States. But as China's bank insurance refused to reimburse the victims, that trust is starting to fade for Chinese citizens. Now people are wondering if banks are even a safe place to store their hard-earned money or not. As panic is spreading throughout China, the risk of bank run is increasing rapidly. China's third biggest state-owned bank, Agriculture Bank of China, has already put limits on withdrawals. Currently, customers can only withdraw about $150 per day, and most online activity has been halted. As the situation gets worse, the strain on Chinese financial institutions will only increase. If not managed properly, this can do massive damage to China's already weak economy. It's important to note that the Chinese banking system represents 350% of China's GDP on a balance sheet, while the US system is only 100%. 7 of China's top 10 most profitable companies are banks. China is hugely reliant on its financial institutions, to say the least. So when protests showed no signs of slowing down and news had spread too far to cover up, the authorities had to give in. A few days ago, Chinese authorities announced that they will start repaying most of the victims, but only up to $7,400. The government is trying to bring back social stability by opening up its checkbook to make customers happy, but this opens up a whole new can of worms. Most of these customers had their whole life savings in these banks. For some, that figure ranged in millions of dollars. Is 50,000 yuan or $7,400 going to be enough to calm these victims? While outsiders have wondered, where will this money come from? A lot of people argue that it's not fair to use tax money to repay people. No matter how this turns out, this does have a potential to turn nuclear if not handled correctly. If the public loses confidence in banks' ability to survive on their own, or state support in the event of liquidity stress, it could precipitate exactly the type of crisis authorities are trying to prevent.
So yeah, that whole situation. Sorry, I'm actually livid about something else. I'm actually kind of.
What happened?
I'll talk to you off the thing, but it might be a future video. I don't know, but someone has absolutely pissed me off.
I kind of want to know.
Yeah, you'll find out off the air.
Just text me who. That's it. I don't need the details.
Yeah.
Just type it and tell me who.
But
I think I know who. Do I know who?
Yeah, no, you don't know who. But we'll talk about it in a moment. But here's the next video.
Yeah.
But
You piqued my curiosity.
Oh well, we're gonna do some deep diving research on a certain person soon enough. Let's say it that much.
Oh.
Because someone's pissed me off significantly.
Ooh. I do not want to be on the other end of Blob pissed off. I'm telling you all right now. Is this from the Insight? I like this page.
Yeah.
China Insight. Hold on 1 second. Let me rewind it. Okay.
It can be said that
yeah, look at your IM, but anyhow, sorry about that. We're gonna go to the China's middle class. Let it riot. 770,000 home buyers stop paying. That is insane. That is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. Okay. I got the message. China Insights. Please, y'all go. Like, I even subscribe to them. Very good videos. They show you things that you don't like. China's very hush. Like, we had a rule in our house growing up, and whatever's done, whatever's said in the house stays in the house. China's kind of like that. Don't air out the drama. Don't air out. It's always hide, conceal. But this person who runs China Insights actually gets videos sent to him, actual media footage, and he has logic and sense, and I do like this channel a lot.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm very, very angry.
I know you are. I can't say nothing, but I know you are.
Yeah, I am extremely fucking angry. Like, I am really pissed off, and I'm very close to exploding, but I'm going to wait. I'm gonna let it fester, and I'm gonna you fucked up, person. You have up. You're gonna hear your fucking name next week, but you have fucked up. But anyway, just as a preview, this person has fucked up, and now you are in my hindsight. I'm telling you now. But anyway, let's go. Let's play the video.
Okay, 00, and pressing play now.
It can be said that unfinished building projects are the worst nightmare for Chinese people in terms of their wealth dream. Whoever buys a home in an unfinished project will have their lifetime wealth ruined. Since 2022, the problem of halted construction and uncompleted buildings has worsened across China. Many victims are trying to figure out what to do. Some of them have taken the step to unite and stop repaying their loans en masse. Industry insiders describe it as the middle class starting to buy lan, which means let it rot in English. Let it rot means voluntarily giving up pursuing certain goals, realizing that they are simply unattainable. This game of buy lan has triggered other homeowners to follow suit. As of July 13, 2022, homeowners of over 100 projects nationwide have issued loan suspension notices, and the storm continues to grow.
Yeah.
In Wuhan, a real estate project in its second phase is one such unfinished building. On June 1st, 2022, homeowners who purchased units in this property decided to collectively issue a loan suspension notice. They said, "We had given the developer time to resume work. If they didn't resume work by November 1st, 2021, we would have to stop making payments. They can't corner us to death. If they fail to resume work, I can't keep repaying the loan." This building started selling in 2019 and was scheduled to be delivered in December 2021. In July 2021, the developer Meihao Group stopped construction on some of its developments in Wuhan. It prompted the homeowners to gather and check on the building where they bought units. They discovered that the building was indeed behind schedule. It was already 70% built and roofed over, but the construction was stopped. The homeowners went to the government and the developer more than once, but what they got was time and time again excuses, appeasement, and delay. Many of the owners have to make a monthly payment of $1,000 to $1,500 US on their mortgages. Some of them are waiting for a flat to get married. Now, when the flat is not available, it's becoming problematic whether they can get married or not. This is a snapshot of the current state of real estate development in China.
Stop it. You can stop it.
Yeah, pausing.
So, the situation is, the place is not built. They basically, because it's tofu dredge, which we've gone through tofu dredge before.
Yeah.
Basically, tofu dredge is a term of art used in China for shitty built property and shitty built buildings.
They use
That literally,
low quality products for their buildings.
low quality would be a step up. It is literally like the concrete you can put your hand into and grab and break. Play-Doh. The sheetrock falls off. Staircases collapse after a month. The metal becomes rusted, so you have these half-completed buildings that are literally rotten.
Imagine paying mortgage or rent and not even living in it every month. $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500. Imagine that, paying that much money for something that you don't even live in. That's like throwing money away.
And certain parts in China are more expensive than Manhattan to live.
Oh,
I shit you not. The real estate. So you have situations where there are certain areas in China that is that expensive and they're badly built and they're waiting for 2 years and their house is not paid. So now they're getting to a point where they're like, fuck it. Now the reason why they continue making payments, you know the 3-generation rule? So basically the 3-generation rule is that
That's
basically...
the same as North Korea's rule, right?
Yeah, but financially.
Oh, financially? Okay, then I know what you're talking
So, like,
about.
imagine if you have, like, you go bankrupt, Tony, and now your kids and your grandkids can't get loans. That is the system in China. They have a 3-generation system in China where you can get bankrupt or get a bad credit score, and because of that, you can't get a government job, you can't go to a certain school, you can't do anything like will bring you up. You'll have to be forever low class, forever not getting any sort of good job or school, ever. Okay? Sometimes you might even not... There's other things, too.
And
so
if
this...
you're going to put this together on what's going on right now with the banking thing, and that's why they're so... Well, I can understand being upset even if the 3-generation rule wasn't there. But imagine adding more insult to injury.
Yeah. So now they're still... That's why they've been... I just said that that's why they were paying for the place there. But now they have to decide, do I eat food or do I pay for land I don't live in?
Yeah.
That's the decision these people are making. So let's continue. I just wanted to put that out there. But yes, there is a 3-generation rule in China, if you didn't know. Let's continue.
Yeah. Pressing play.
这是美而住，确定是那什么，2栋烂尾楼，这一群5台大客车的。
But why did they stop? Unfinished building project homeowners protest.
So, why are there so many uncompleted properties in China?
Yeah.
In 1994, China's real estate industry introduced the pre-sale system from Hong Kong. In the pre-sale stage, developers or builders take the uncompleted buildings as collateral and use them to borrow money. For example, homeowners usually put down 30% and borrow 70% from the bank. All the funds are a one-time payment for the property that's given to the developer. The sweetness of this system is that the bigger the real estate company gets, the easier it gets, because the customers pay more deposits and the real estate company can easily expand without having to put down more capital themselves. This system led to an explosive rise in the number of real estate developers in mainland China to over 100,000 in just a few years. The Chinese government has introduced a series of policies to regulate pre-sale funds. But with widespread corruption permeating the system, these policies remain on paper only. In the deep darkness of the financial system, the Communist Party's powerful and elite and big business people have their eyes on the billions in pre-sale funds. It is impossible to keep these funds safe in the banks with the joint efforts of the local government, banks, and real estate companies. While the developers use very little of their own funds to acquire land, creating a huge real estate bubble, the risks and interest on the funds are passed on to home buyers. The home buyers and the bank have formed a loan relationship, and the owners are required to pay back the loan to the bank within a certain number of years in monthly installments. Once the developer gets the money, it doesn't care if the building quality is good or not. The home buyers who have paid in the money are naturally vulnerable as they virtually have zero ability to bind the developers. It's only by luck that they get their hands on a good piece of property, or bad. This is the root cause of the alarming number of tofu-dreg buildings in China. But what's worse than tofu-dreg new homes is when homeowners encounter uncompleted buildings. Dear leaders, I am the owner of Unit 1807 in Unit 1 of Hanhai Bay Building No. 6, and I am a doctoral graduate of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. At the beginning, I came to Zhengzhou through a talent recruitment program, but now my heart and body are not with Zhengzhou anymore, because I bought an uncompleted building. We the people, including intellectuals, want something very simple, a place to live. It's really hard for so many families. Please let us either see the home or please understand our difficulties. We have no other options.
Pressing pause.
Imagine you have to beg to get a house that you fucking pay for.
That's what I was just about to say. These people are literally begging for you to do what they're paying for. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it absolutely makes no sense. And how he has to say, "Dear leader," like this is the problem I have. Like with that, I mean, this is just a side note. Like this is so ridiculous of like a government where the people are afraid of the government, where they have to be like, "Dear leader, save us! Please allow us to withdraw our fucking money and have a home to sleep in."
That's
like,
their
give me.
country, yeah.
That's so
And just to let you guys
crazy.
know, if you guys think China's crazy, wait until you see North Korea, because they're even worse.
Oh man, North Korea's like pretty
North
fucking
Korea's
bad.
like really, really bad. They're getting the COVID now.
Yeah, but I would say North Korea, at least you can actually have a home to sleep in. So I don't know. It's starting to
No.
they might have a house to sleep in. We don't.
They had North Korea has more people in poverty than they do. Basically, only the capital of North Korea has some type of fortune, and it still has a ghetto, and everywhere else, you're lucky you have a hut that you share with 20 people. Or that's when you're lucky. When you're not lucky is when you and 3 generations of your family, like say I did a crime, then not only am I going to jail, but so are my kids. So
China does the same thing.
Yeah.
China does the same thing. I don't know what you're
it's a
talking
3-generation rule. Yeah, North Korea is horrible. It's a horrible
Yeah,
fucking place.
well-
but China's on that same kind of level when they're dear leader, because that's how they talk about their. Y'all just need to take a deep dive on North Korea because it's fucking ridiculous. But yeah, I see similarities, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But let's continue. Let me see if there's
Okay.
any chat. All right, there's a comment that says, "B is fantastic, but Tony." I'm joking.
I was about to say I don't see shit, but okay. All right, 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Press play now.
But to take to the streets, we have no more options. Otherwise, who wants to take to the streets and have everyone stare at us? I even feel embarrassed of the slogan posted on my car. I was stupid
You're not
to buy
stupid,
this
you're
home.
being fucked over.
We are forced into this situation. Can the bank give us a break to stop the payment? Even a break of 6 months can be helpful. I need to pay back 6,000 RMB or US 890 a month. I have a family of 4 living in a rented home. A monthly rent of 2,500 RMB or 372 US dollars. I need about 8,000 RMB or 1,190 US dollars a month. How easy is it for an average person to earn 8,000 RMB? I make only 7,000 RMB a month, and my wife earns only 4,000 RMB. I'm afraid to get sick and see a doctor. China's Supreme Court Trial Committee had discussed a civil judgment in 2019 that determined that the risk of an unfinished building should not be borne entirely by homebuyers, and that the developer should return the principal and interest collected on the purchase loan to the lending bank and the homebuyer, and the homebuyers are not obligated to return it. This ruling seems reasonable, but in practice it is extremely difficult to execute. For example, in the suburbs of Beijing, Yanzhou homeowners are sued by their banks for stopping making mortgage payments and being blacklisted by credit checking, and they have virtually all lost their future. In China, credit checking or credit ratings affect 3 generations. That is, if an individual is blacklisted by banks and other financial institutions due to credit issues, his or her children will be affected in their applications to join the military, civil servants, and public institutions. Some large financial institutions will not accept the children of defaulters, and bad credit also impacts family members taking out bank loans. China's major universities and military academies have stricter political checks on parents. As a result, parents are generally concerned that being on the credit blacklist will likely affect their children's ability to attend higher education. However, more and more Chinese people are realizing that their lives have been ruined by unfinished building projects. When they encounter such a property, their savings are gone because of the down payment, their salary is gone because of the loan payment, and their home is gone because the bank will take it away when the developer fails to finish the project. They have nothing left. In comparison, it is not so terrible to stop paying the loan and get on the blacklist of credit. In the notice of loan suspension, many homeowners have written, "We have to rent, raise children, and support parents. Our life has been incredibly difficult. We can no longer pay the loan for an unfinished building. After all, we can't even afford food anymore. Who cares about credit?" The root cause of the massive emergence of uncompleted buildings is the pre-sale system of housing. But for a long time, no one has wanted to abolish it. For local governments, such a system brings the benefits of high turnover, gaining more revenue from land sales in a short period of time. If it takes 2 years to realize a piece of land, developers are bound to slow down land acquisition, and local land finance is likely to encounter troubles. Real estate developers and local governments had expected the land economy's pyramid scheme to continue forever. What they didn't expect was Xi Jinping's central government, which introduced the 3 red lines policy in August 2020.
Yeah, so liability. So this is the 3 red lines that basically stopped them from taking really, really risky loans. And the main reason why is they believe that if they didn't do this, the whole economy would explode even worse. So it says future access to financing will be predicated on developers' adherence to strict criteria included liability asset ratio including advance receipts of less than 70%. 2. Net gearing ratio of less than 100%. 3. Cash short-term debt ratios of more than 1x. Now, that's basically the rules. Am I going to know what that means? Probably not. I probably should have looked it up before. But yeah, I mean, let me see. What is the 3 red lines? 3 red lines. 1 second. What does the 3 red lines in China mean? Come on. 3 red lines. Financial regulatory guidelines related to the ratio of debt and cash equity asset. I'm just looking up, guys. Just give me a second. Sorry, I should have freaking looked that up. Sorry, guys. I should not have done this on the spot. But give me 1 second. Okay, let me read this article. China's 3 red lines policy is to safeguard the property sector isn't working yet. So, let me see. On August 20, 2021, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development and the People's Bank of China held a joint symposium with China's the largest property developers, Country Garden, Evergrande Group, and VEC, and proposed to implement a policy to monitor and manage loan regulations of the real estate sector. This policy is known as the 3 red lines, which refers to 3 requirements for developers' balance sheets. Assets liability ratio must be greater than 70%. We read this. Net debt to equity ratio must be less than 100, and cash short-term borrowing ratio must be less than 1. This policy categorized real estate developers by means of the 4 colors, with each color corresponding to the number of red lines that overstep. Each overstep line is accomplished by annual growth restrictions, interest-bearing liabilities. Green indicates that a company meets all three requirements of the three red lines and liability growth rate cannot exceed 15%. Yellow indicates that the one line has been crossed and the liability growth rate cannot exceed 10%. And orange indicates that two lines have been crossed and the liability growth rate cannot exceed 5%. And red indicates that all lines have been crossed and the liability growth rate cannot increase at all. The government required that all three real estate developers in attendance at the symposium attend a debt reduction targets by June 30th, 2023. And the overall objective is to reduce leverage, increase liquidity, and mitigate the financial risk associated with the heavy debt refinancing strategies. How much liability is acceptable? The average debt equity D/E ratios vary in each industry, and high debt is not usually in the real estate sector. The average D/E ratio, debt to equity ratio, I believe, of real estate developers is approximately 352%. As they make use of high leverage of large buyout transactions. Thus, the DE ratios can be beneficial as leverage and can significantly affect the equity return. Debt itself is not to be feared in this industry, but the question that Beijing Three Lines policy seeks answers is how much liability acceptable before a company is not able to service its debt and fails to meet the obligation of creditors, investors, and to buy homes. So, just as a quick synopsis, basically, they want you to reduce debt and they want you to get more money on the books. Because what's happening is they're making these large loans and they cannot, if something goes wrong, they're going to go belly up. And that's what they try to do in 2020. But it's not working too well. And what it does is it's freezing up credit for these developers because they can't get loans anymore, and they're just having half-finished projects now because they ran out of money to build buildings. I'm sorry we went through that long read. I know it's a little complicated. It's a little mishmash financial stuff, but pretty much that's the situation. Let me just see any comments. Absolutely not, because that would be crazy of people, but because it's kind of complicated, that stuff. So let's continue the video.
Okay, pressing play.
To prevent developers from running up debts and to deflate the real estate bubble. The direct consequences of these policies is that it has broken the capital chains for many real estate companies in a short period of time. One of the consequences of a broken capital chain is that many developments being built by these real estate companies have come to a halt. As of July 13th, 2022, almost 2/3 of Evergrande's projects around the country have been stopped. That is, as many as 31 projects. Just in the city of Zhengzhou in Henan province alone, there are 25,249 units belonging to uncompleted building projects, which represents 29% of the total sold properties in the city in 2021. In other words, for every 3 homes sold in 2021, one of them belonged to an unfinished building. This is the largest unfinished building in Zhengzhou, leaving more than 6,000 owners homeless. The project has been for sale since 2013. Back then, people waited in line to get a number in order to buy. At that time, a good number was speculated to cost 30,000 to 200,000 RMB each. There was a rush to buy, and it was such a hectic scene. Now, 8 years have passed and still no homes have been delivered. No one is at the construction site. How many people who bought homes here are now paying off their loans while renting at the same time? Changsha, the capital of Henan province, has more undelivered projects than Zhengzhou in terms of numbers, with a whopping 28,139 units, accounting for 21% of the total number of transactions. That's 1 of every 4 flats sold belonging to an uncompleted project. Guangzhou also has 12% of sold units belonging to unfinished buildings. In the face of the massive number of uncompleted properties, homeowners have put aside their fears of being on the credit blacklist. They have united and posted a collective notice of loan suspension online. According to a frequently updated table that lists all the loan suspension notices by homeowners, more than 100 projects have had loan payments collectively suspended as of July 13th, 2022. A large number of these properties are concentrated in Henan, Hebei, Henan, and Jiangxi provinces. Owners of unfinished properties in more than 15 provinces have joined to defend their rights. The number of forced loan suspension projects is expanding rapidly, from 52 on July 12th to over 100 on July 13th. By the time this episode airs, the number may have doubled. Chinese industry insiders say that this is no longer a game within a legal framework, but a game in Bailan style. Like the depositors who lost their deposits in the village banks, homeowners of the unfinished buildings are not the lower class of Chinese society.
So they're going to have a larger voice to speak out about this shit.
But the lack of oversight and transparent information in China's real estate and financial systems have driven them from middle class to proletarian, or even worse, people who are debt-ridden. In the face of power, the Chinese have a mindset that the law can't hold the masses responsible. That's why homeowners dare to stop repaying their loans collectively today. If one person stops the loan, it's a legal issue. If 1,000 people stop the loan, it's a livelihood issue. The owner's counterattack against the uncompleted building is also simple and direct. That is, buy land to completely give up. People simply said, I don't care about credit scores anymore. I just don't make any payments. It's the bank who should fear the situation now.
These buildings look horrible, man. They need to, horrible looking.
Like they're abandoned buildings. Like it's so stupid.
Like, this is like a dystopian future where who would want to live here?
Indeed, the risk will come to the banks in China when the homeowners collectively stop making payments. As of now, it is impossible to count the number of owners and the amount of sales involved in the properties with suspended loans. We can refer to some previous data. Some Chinese media did a count when there were only 14 properties involving about 46,000 owners and a total of about RMB 34.7 billion or 5.17 billion US dollars. If we take a multiple of 10, when the list grows to be about 140, the number of people involved will be 4.6 million, and the amount of money will be about 51.7 billion US dollars. Now, some banks are calling homeowners one by one, saying they can help apply for deferment up to 1 year and then pay back after the deferment period.
Compound interest.
Compound interest. A vice president of a bank of a joint stock bank said in an interview with China's media outlet Jiamian News, banks dare not make random decisions because the number of people and groups involved is so large that it can easily cause a domino effect and expand the risk instead. The subprime mortgage crisis in the US in 2007 triggered a financial tsunami around the world. It was mainly triggered by a sharp increase in defaults in the US mortgage industry. If more unfinished buildings in China are caught up in the wave of forced loan suspensions, coupled with other deep-seated problems in China's financial system, the chain reaction is likely to become China's version of the subprime mortgage crisis.
Let's see, what does it say? As of July 14, 2022, the number of properties which mortgage loans payments are stopped has increased to 180, including the first-tier cities, because there's like third-tier, fourth-tier, nicer cities. And the potential value may reach 730 billion yuan or 108 billion US dollars. That's a lot of fucking money. So basically it's gonna, but also what another thing people don't talk about is most revolutions are led by the middle class. So you have a highly educated class of people who are going to be fuck the system, not paying any money, and eventually the entire system's gonna fucking collapse. And it's something that the Chinese government should be worried about. But yeah, I mean, I'm very worried about this whole China situation, and what do you think? Are you gonna buy silver?
No, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna do what I always do. But I just think the whole entire thing is ridiculous. How much abuse can the Chinese, populi really take before they're like, oh, there's more of them than there is of their military and forces. I do believe that. So there's going to be a time where there's going to be... But the thing is, too, China's so hush-hush. I don't think we're going to...
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think what's going to happen... They're going to try to cover it up as much as they can, but I think eventually they're going to have to do something about it, because if this affects more... It's because this is going to be a situation where if, let's say, 1 million people don't pay or 10 million people don't pay their mortgage... That's going to collapse the entire Chinese banking system, and they have to interfere before that. If they don't interfere before that happens, it's going to be a dominoes effect, and it's going to I said the pizza accidentally. Domino effect. My bad, guys. Domino effect. Yeah, maybe I'm hungry, but it's going to collapse the entire fucking economy, and it's going to rush over here because guess what? BlackRock has a bunch of real estate assets in China as well, which is an American banking company with, real estate assets. There's multiple American companies linked with each other. There's multiple different companies linked with each other, and it really is a situation where we don't know what's going to happen if China collapses, and it's very bad. So I would say people keep an eye on China. It's going to be very rocky, very, very rocky.
If we've learned anything in the past 3 years, or not past 3 years, whatever happens in China is going to happen to us.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's our show.
Sorry I was a little distracted at the end. Some people might know, but expect a very interesting stream, maybe Friday, maybe Monday, about certain backstabbing, evil people that need to be called out. But anyway,
okay.
You guys have a good one.
Yeah, y'all keep safe and have a good week. It is Monday, so y'all have a good start of the week. And keep an eye on random gameplay. We're going to be finishing Stray Up, and we're going to be finishing Layers of Fear. So yeah, keep an eye on that.
More nightmares for people to watch.
I'm going to even it out with Stray. So you get a nice little kitty, and then you get nightmares.